So Owen Jones and Israeli author Hen Mazzig went on Sky News yesterday and had a big debate, and I saw on Twitter that people were smearing Owen Jones as anti-Semitic again. And I don't usually do these videos, these reaction videos, but I do it when I think it's important. Now, I've not seen this clip from Sky News, so I will be watching and reacting at the same time as you. So let's jump into it.
The reality is the UK doesn't export that many armaments to Israel. It's vastly dwarfed by America and Germany. But what is the reaction to an opinion like that expressed by so many significant leading legal figures?
I think they're all being misled. I mean, we're talking about one of the conversations that we had even earlier about a genocide is the claim that somehow Israel is starving the Palestinian population in Gaza, but it does allow trucks in, and this is not contestable. We all agree that there are trucks of humanitarian aid being given into the Gaza Strip. Hamas is taking over those trucks, as everyone can agree. Even Palestinians themselves in Gaza are reporting that. So, in fact,
I don't want to be that guy that stops it all the time. But that is a classic, Hamas has taken over. This is in the context of, as we know, and I covered it yesterday, that 7 people were killed. They were aid workers. They were working for the World Central Kitchen. And 3 of them were British nationals. Now, we found out, Israel admitted it was them. They say it was an accident. I don't believe that. And Al Jazeera did a investigation which showed it was deliberate. So it's one thing to say, sure, Israel allows in aid trucks, right? But it's another thing to then turn around and blow them aid trucks up or kill those people. So I'm not sure what he's trying to get at here. I'll let him finish, of course, but I feel like he's getting to the point where, well, it's not really a genocide. You know, Israel aren't starving the Palestinians because they're allowing aid trucks through. Well, I mean, we've just seen multiple times and very recently, these aid trucks are destroyed and innocent people are killed.
If you want to blame someone for a genocide of starvation, it should be Hamas. And instead of blaming Hamas for everything, I mean, for the fact that this war is even still ongoing.
We're talking about the question of banning arms sales to Israel, rather than that sort of role of Hamas. I mean, within the Israeli government, what do you think is the reaction to that sort of rhetoric?
It's insignificant. It's less than 1% of our arms. But at the end of the day, Israel has invested millions, billions of dollars in creating Iron Dome, in creating bomb shelters, in protecting its civilians. The arms that are used today in Gaza are supposed to protect Israeli civilians. That's what they've been doing since October 6th.
Now, me personally, I don't care whether it's 10%, whether it's 1%. I think it's immoral to be supplying arms. Look, I'm a socialist. I'm against the global arms trade. Some people try to attack those who talk about arms sales to Israel and say, why are you singling them out? You must be anti-Semitic. Well, it's not the case. I'm against arms sales across the board. I think it's wrong. But even if it's an insignificant amount, the idea that we're supplying weapons to a nation which is committing a genocide and now has killed British nationals is still wrong. So even if you think it's insignificant, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I don't think that's a particularly logical argument here. It should be 0. I don't care if it's only 1%, it should be 0.
And also in the West Bank, if we're looking at the military operation in the West Bank, it's all meant, they followed 500 terrorist operations in the last year alone. So the idea that there's somehow, I mean, the weapon is being used for anything else but protecting Israeli civilians is completely ludicrous.
Owen.
Obviously a load of rubbish. It's even beyond debate now. I think people like Hen will not be open to logical reasoning. They are biased, and the fact that after the 7th of October 30,000 innocent Palestinians have been killed, you can no longer say, well, it was never about protecting anyway, but you can no longer say, anyone in the media, oh, it's about protecting Israel. It's not. It's an offensive force. I mean, people now refer to the IDF as the IOF, Israel Offense Force, because they're the ones who are attacking the Palestinians. So maybe you could fool people beforehand, but right now, no one's buying it. But I think Owen Jones is going to speak, and let's listen.
Let's pick up what some of the things Hen has been saying, which is that, look, we can talk so much about what Israel is doing in Gaza, but ultimately Hamas created this war.
I think if you start the clock on the 7th of October, that's absurd. Obviously, in 1948, the Palestinian people were driven from their homes, 750,000. The vast majority of the people in Gaza are the descendants of those 750,000 people who'd driven from the homes, 15,000 of them slaughtered at the time, 1967, yet another act of ethnic cleansing, an illegal occupation, the longest belligerent occupation.
Let's talk about what's happening here. Look, we haven't got time for
Well, I don't know. Why ask me the question?
Why-
In terms of arms,
Why is he
Alicia
cutting him off?
Kearns, the Conservative MP and chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, in a leaked recording said...
Yeah, so that's ridiculous. You can't say... Because the presenter is making an assumption. Well, it all started on the 7th of October. It is down to Hamas, right? And Owen Jones is correctly pointing out and saying, well, there's a whole history here between Israel and Palestine that provides necessary context to what is going on. No, it didn't start on the 7th of October. No, Hamas didn't start everything. And he alludes to the Nakba in 1948, which is where the Palestinians were killed in their hundreds of thousands. So this is a war that's been going on for a very long time. And I think it's quite bad that the Sky News presenter is saying this all started on the 7th of October as a matter of fact. Anyway, Owen Jones clearly tries to add this context, and another presenter's like, oh, we ain't got time. Don't ask him that question then. And yes, we absolutely do have time. We talk about this every single day, and it's an important issue to speak about. It's important to bring up the historical context. So I think it's doing Israel's bidding for them by saying, oh, we ain't got time to talk about the very real historical context as to why the things are happening as they are today.
That the government had received legal advice that Israel was in defiance of international humanitarian law. What that legally necessitates is Britain ending all arms sales, but also ending all cooperation and sharing intelligence. Now, you're right, Britain doesn't supply that many arms, but if it ends arms sales, that then puts huge pressure on Germany, which has decided to make the Palestinian people pay for the grievous crimes it committed by attempting to exterminate the Jewish people.
Come on, have some decency.
And the second
I won't
point,
let you.
Well,
the memory of the Holocaust will not be used this way. How dare you? You're not Jewish. Don't do that.
It shouldn't
really
be used.
Don't do it.
It shouldn't be used to force the Palestinians.
Even for you, it's a red line.
Shouldn't be used to force the Palestinians people to pay for the Holocaust.
I'm sorry, I can't take this. Look, I hate this debate tactic where you say, you cannot talk about this, you're not Jewish, it's wrong. And this is what's been used throughout this whole debate since the 7th of October and beyond, which is that because you're not Jewish, you don't have authority to speak on this issue. I reject that so much because, look, no one on the left and Owen Jones, they have never said they pretended to know what it's like to be Jewish, right? If they were trying to comment on the life of a Jewish person and their lived experiences, then you're absolutely correct in saying, well, hold on, you're not Jewish, you don't know. What authority do you have to speak on? You don't. But Owen Jones isn't talking about the Jewish experience. He isn't talking about Jewish people. He is talking about the facts. Israel is committing a genocide. And the idea that, well, because Owen Jones isn't Jewish, he doesn't have authority to speak on it is absolutely ridiculous. These are facts. But of course, Hen is now going to go on some sort of moral tirade. I hope he sticks to facts and logic. I don't think he will because he hasn't so far. But I just see this is now going to be turned into, oh, Owen Jones is a bad person. He's going to attack his moral character rather than listening to the pertinent points he is making.
Now,
What
in
are you
terms
saying,
of...
Owen? I think Hen believes that you are disparaging the memory of the Holocaust.
Of course, he just did.
No, I didn't.
I said that Germany is making Palestinians pay for the 6 million Jews that were killed in the Holocaust?
Yes, I absolutely
This is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe
I stand by what I said because it's absolutely true.
Are you saying that Germany is supporting Israel because of what happened?
Yes,
sorry, but I'm criticising Germany. How does that disparage the memory of the Holocaust? This is what really pisses me off when there's discussions around the Holocaust, right? The whole point of the Holocaust, or afterwards, the tagline, never again, was to ensure that nothing like this happens ever again, no matter which marginalised community it is. The fascist politics of the Nazi regime must never be repeated. Now, that is why some people do draw the comparison, because they say, look, a lot of people who talk about the plight of the Palestinian people, a lot of people will make comparisons with the Israeli government and say, look, these are a lot of the tactics the Nazi governments did. And people say, how dare you do that? How dare you? But surely that would be welcomed. Because if you believed in the idea of never again, then surely you would think, good, we're learning the correct lessons of the Nazi regime, and therefore we don't want to see it replicated. And I can see how it's crass, but I think it is actually important now to use this, to use Nazi Germany as a frame of reference, because we need to be talking about a genocide. And again, I don't think Owen Jones is doing anything wrong. He didn't say anything about specifically Jewish people, and Hen is going on having a moral panic over this.
It believes it
Rather
can make,
than punishing the Palestinians.
It believes Germany has decided it can make up for its obscene guilt by forcing somebody else to pay for the crimes that Germany committed. It's a very straightforward point. There's nothing offensive about it. It's a very obvious
Of course, it's offensive. I'm telling you, it's offensive, and I'm a Jewish Israeli.
In terms of arms sales,
still will not take it back.
No,
because you don't care about Jews. Because you don't care about
You know what's interesting?
Okay.
I interviewed a German Israeli.
Let's take a pause.
I interviewed a German Israeli.
When someone goes, "Oh, it's offensive. I'm Jewish." That's offensive. Again, if we're talking about the individual experiences of Jewish people, then he has the right to call out people who aren't Jewish. But if he's making the point that, look, Germany are almost overcorrecting for their past behaviour and they stand with Israel, I think that's a reasonable point to make. Even if you don't agree with it, I think that's a topic of discussion, because it is very likely that many politicians, I think given that the Holocaust is used to justify Israel's existence, people say that, Zionists say that themselves, then to say, well, what if Germany don't want to be out of step with Israel because they're guilty of what they did in the past? Again, I don't think that's particularly offensive. I think that could very well be true.
Well, one person's opinion is not definitive. And I think I do need to...
They're shutting down Jewish people in Germany who speak about Gaza. The point about arms, which we were talking about, Israel has destroyed the medical system of Gaza. That itself is a genocidal act. There's no functioning healthcare system. They just destroyed Al-Shifa Hospital, the biggest hospital in Gaza.
It's been used by Hamas.
Now,
and sorry, just to stop again, he's also talking about Jewish people in Germany who oppose Israel. So how can he be anti-Semitic when Owen Jones is talking about the plight of anti-Zionist Jews? This is where Zionists, they don't like to talk about anti-Zionist Jews. It's when they talk about the hundreds of thousands of people that marched in support of Palestinian people and for a ceasefire. There's many anti-Zionist Jews who are there, yet you've got commentators saying they're all Hamas supporters, they're all terrorist sympathizers. You're forgetting about Jews. Everyone, regardless of what minority group you belong to, isn't a monolith. We all have diverse opinions. So why aren't the opinions of Jewish people who don't subscribe to Zionism respected? I happen to think that's quite anti-Semitic.
Well, you think everything's used by Hamas, so you could point everything at Hamas.
No. We can't make glib questions like that.
Okay.
There are
right. So you allow the Sky News presenters allowing Hen to call Owen Jones someone who doesn't care about Jews. He's allowed to say that, but when Owen Jones, I reckon, makes a brilliant point by saying you think everything is Hamas, and now he's not just speaking to Hen, by the way. He's speaking to everyone who's defending Israel. They think everything is Hamas. Now the Sky News presenters like, whoa, you can't make that glib point. It's true though. I mean, how can that not be the case? We have people calling the UN Hamas. I've even seen tweets, right, of saying that Joe Biden is now pro-Hamas because the most milquetoast criticism of Netanyahu, by the way, not changing in policies and still supporting arms to Netanyahu, said in quiet that he's a bit unhappy with Netanyahu. We've got people calling them or him pro-Hamas. So yes, I absolutely think the case that strong advocates for Israel think everything is Hamas, and it's their justification for killing innocent people, blowing up hospitals or blowing up aid workers because they could just say, well, Hamas, that was Hamas, that was. So yeah, Owen Jones is absolutely correct here.
Questions like that.
Okay.
There is Hamas infrastructure across Gaza.
According to every intelligence organization,
every single medical facility and hospital in Gaza has been attacked. That imposes a daily death sentence on everyone who has cancer, heart problems,
really impossible.
people who are pregnant, pregnant women who are having quickly.
No, I need to let Hen have a response.
Babies who are having their limbs amputated.
We can see the devastation, and I know you're upset by some of the things that Owen is saying there, but you would accept that the wholesale destruction of Gaza is causing immeasurable pain to the civilian population.
It's causing unimaginable pain for Israelis, for myself, to see that I am angry by every civilian casualty in Gaza. I am heartbroken. It's crazy that I that we have to get to this point. I mean, we don't want that.
Sorry, but notice that language here. First of all, if you're really concerned about these people, then why aren't you speaking up about it? But no, you'd rather shut people like Owen Jones down because they're speaking up about innocent Palestinians. But also that language where he says, it's a shame that we got to this point. I think reading between the lines there, maybe I'm incorrect here, but it sounds like to me that he's still justifying it because he's saying, well, look, because what Hamas did and what they continue to do, it's now got to this point. No. I'm sorry. What happened on the 7th of October was absolutely disgusting. It was an atrocity committed by Hamas. It was a terrorist act, and innocent Israelis and innocent Jewish people killed. I've gone on record multiple times saying this. Owen Jones has gone on record multiple times saying this. But ever since then, 99% of what has happened is because of Israel. You don't get to kill 30,000 people, right? Versus Hamas killing over 1,000 people. But actually, when it comes to innocent people, not soldiers or members of the IDF, it's in the range of like 800, right? If you match those two figures, can you honestly say, well, Israel killed 30,000 and Hamas killed about 800? These are equal measure. It's proportionate. It's clearly not. It's clearly not proportionate. That means everything that's happened, everything that's transpired since the 7th of October means that Israel has engaged in collective punishment, ethnic cleansing, and genocide. And I don't see Hen and many other strong Israel advocates really talking about that. They don't particularly care. They'll say they care when they're pushed to it, but they rather would still push the pro-Israel agenda.
We didn't have that on October 6th. We pulled out of the Gaza Strip. There was no military control over the Gaza Strip. There were borders like there is with Egypt. By the way, why isn't anyone asking why Egypt isn't letting in trucks of humanitarian aid?
When there's a point that, the IDF weren't occupying Gaza at the time. Yes, they were, right? They're in an open air prison. Some of the soldiers might not be operating inside Gaza, but it's heavily surveyed, and people are not free to leave.
At the end of the day, let me just say, there's two sorts of approach to this conflict. There's people that look at the past and there's people that look at the future. I'm looking at the future. I want a future for my kids that will be affected by it to live peacefully with Palestinian children. That's all I want.
Honestly, you could imagine if you said that about slavery. When we talk about the systemic racism against people of color, especially in America, it's important that we bring up slavery because that historical context matters. The historical context of slavery matters today for people's material conditions. And you know what white supremacists or right-wingers say? They say, well, slavery was hundreds of years ago, right? That was in the past. Stop talking about the past. People of color are completely equal. They're equal under the law. And it's like, yeah, under the law, maybe technically they're equal, but it doesn't mean they're treated equally. And slavery still has a really strong hangover on how race is seen or how people of color are seen. So by saying, we can't focus on the past where Israel committed atrocities against the Palestinian people, I want to focus on the future. The thing is, though, even if you say that, if you take that argument by itself, you want to focus on the future, right now, Israel is still displacing and committing genocide against the Palestinians. So even if you remove the historical context, it doesn't make Israel's position any better.
With Palestinian children, that's all I want.
Well, what the Palestinian children need survive.
At this moment, this conversation will continue another time. But that's it for tonight. Thank you both very much indeed. The news.
So I know, so I hadn't seen that before. Not particularly surprised about how that's gone down. I've seen on Twitter that all the same people, those from Jewish Chronicle, and big Zionist supporters have said that Owen Jones is anti-Semitic, he's disgusting. And even though I in my head I was like, well, I doubt he's said anything anti-Semitic because he hasn't before, I didn't say anything about it. I reserved my judgment until I watched this video. And what I've seen is I don't think Owen Jones said anything wrong. I think it's a good point to make that Germany has been incredibly pro-Israel because, there are probably politicians who feel guilty about their past and want to align with Israel and will ignore the war crimes against the Palestinian people. And the idea that makes Owen Jones disgusting and racist, please logically explain to me how that makes him anti-Semitic. Instead of just saying, that's anti-Semitic, can you show me how that is? I'd love to hear it because Hen didn't do that. I'm not surprised how that went. I think Owen Jones was 100% correct. I think Hen Mazzig was completely wrong. He downplayed, once again, how all Zionists do, downplayed the atrocities that the Palestinians are facing and resort to smears and attack on one's character instead of talking about the substance of Owen Jones's argument. But instead, it's all the same. It's, oh, you don't care about Jewish people, this and that. And everyone on Twitter is calling him anti-Semitic, but he isn't, and he's absolutely right. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and drop a comment. It's good for the algorithm, and I'm interested in what you have to say. If you're not already subscribed, please do, and hit the notification bell. You can also support this channel by becoming a member for 99p per month, and if you're feeling a little more generous, then you can support us on Patreon for £3 or £5 per month. This channel for a while has been uploading every single day, and it's quite a lot of work that is still voluntary and scheduled around my paid work. But I have so much ambition, expect in the future to see more variety in content, such as interviews and Vox Pops. But I want this to be a fully fledged media organisation where not only is this my full-time job, but to have multiple people working for Turn Left. I like to see a live show in the future, more content that delves into culture, history, and much more. But that can only be done if there's money. So please, if you can, support us in any way that's in your capacity. And thank you to existing members, subscribers, and patrons. See you next time.